What's up guys, it's Widgeon TV here. Today I'm going to be bringing you my top 5 exotics for PvE activities. I'm going to be scoring these exotics according to 3 different categories. The first category is high level PvE. So I'm talking Nightfalls, Challenge of Elders, and even the high level raids. So the next category is mid to low level PvE. So we're talking stuff like the Prison of Elders, the daily heroic mission, and even the heroic Vanguard playlist. And the final category is bosses. It's going to be how well do these weapons perform against the bosses. But without further ado, let's jump into it. So at number 5, we have Dragon's Breath. Dragon's Breath has got to be one of my favorite exotics in Destiny. I feel like Dragon's Breath is incredibly underused. So first up is, how does this weapon work in high level PvE? Well, I would say this weapon works good but not great. It does enough damage to hold its own in high level PvE, but sometimes it's just not enough to kill some of the mid level enemies. But if you're doing a Nightfall with a modifier such as Solar Burn, you will not find a better rocket launcher for the job. But everything changes when you turn down the difficulty to mid to low level PvE. Dragon's Breath will kill most everything in one hit, and if the explosion doesn't kill it, then the fire will. One of the reasons I think Dragon's Breath is so good in mid to low level PvE is because it has the Surplus perk. Putting together a perk like Surplus and maybe an exotic armor piece like Ruin Wings on the Titan, this combination can net you a ton of heavy ammo bricks. And because you get 5 rockets for every heavy ammo brick you pick up, you can almost use Dragon's Breath as a primary weapon. I mean, imagine all the rockets you can rain down on your enemies with a pile of heavy ammo like this. Now, Dragon's Breath works really well against specific types of bosses. For the more stagnant style of bosses, I would definitely suggest Dragon's Breath, but not being able to effectively target mobile bosses and the fact that it doesn't do amazing damage is why I gave it the score that it got, and that's why it ended up number 5 on my list. So next up at number 4 is Invective, my go-to shotgun. So Invective is definitely the best shotgun for high-level PvE, but unfortunately shotguns altogether are really not that strong in high-level PvE activities. And the reasons for this are simple. It's the fact that you have to get so close to your enemies. In things like the Nightfall, you have to depend on the range between you and your enemies to stay alive. But that being said, if you can stay hidden and safe with Invective, it can deal out massive burst damage. And again, it's a solar weapon, so if there's something like Solar Burn on, then you can tear through enemies' shields. And thanks to Invective's exotic perk, you'll almost always have ammo to use. In mid-level PvE, Invective really shines. It has a great set of perks, including Who's Next, that are perfect for shredding through mid-level activities. The passive ammo gains and the high burst damage really make this weapon a good pick for mid-level activities. Now, unfortunately, Invective versus bosses, well, they don't mix very well. But honestly, it's not Invective's fault. It's just the fact that it's a shotgun. Shotguns just don't do very well against bosses, period. But if you're going to use a shotgun against a boss, I would probably pick Invective. And that's why it's number 4 on my list of best exotics. So number 3 is going to be Sleeper Simulant. So I love Sleeper Simulant for high level activities, mainly because I think it's one of the best weapons in the game for clearing out those enemies that you're actually afraid of. I'm talking things like Wizards and the Cabal Colossus, things that you don't want to mess around with. In things like the Nightfall, Sleeper Simulant will basically just wipe anything like that out. It has the power and the range to make you feel safe while you're using it and to get the job done on the other end of the barrel. In mid to low level activities, Sleeper Simulant will basically kill anything in one shot. At that point, it's pretty much overkill, and at those difficulties, you're much more free to get close to your enemy to use something like a shotgun. I'm looking at you, Invective. Sleeper Simulant is really great for bosses because of the same reasons it was good for high-level PvE. You can do a lot of damage from a safe distance away from your target, and dealing damage is literally what Sleeper Simulant does best. But unfortunately, the ammo reserves on Sleeper Simulant are not that great. You'll end up doing high burst damage and then be completely out of ammo. And unlike something like Dragon's Breath where you can really easily find ammo, you'll end up running around looking for ammo way more than you'll actually be shooting the boss. And that's why Sleeper Simulant gets number 3 on my list. So, at my number 2 spot, I have Black Spindle, my boss killer. So Black Spindle is an amazing sniper rifle. In high-level PvE, Black Spindle will wreck any solar-shielded enemies. It is the highest damage sniper rifle in the entire game. Black Spindle will keep you safe at a range, and it will do work downrange. This weapon almost rivals Sleeper Simulant in its ability to kill those highly shielded and highly armored enemies. And it goes the same thing for the mid to low level PvE, but unfortunately there's only 3 rounds in the chamber, and Black Spindle actually gets outclassed by other exotic weapons in this category. Now all this considered, Black Spindle does one thing really well. In fact, it does this one thing better than any other weapon in the entire game, and that is kill bosses. Black Spindle's White Nail perk effectively lets you shoot Black Spindle without ever reloading, as long as your aim stays true. So that means you can nearly drop 18 of the highest damage sniper rounds into the boss's weak point without ever reloading. I mean, it is profound the amount of damage you can do with this weapon in such a short amount of time, and that's why Black Spindle gets my number 2 pick. So my pick for the best exotic in year 2 has got to be Boltcaster. Now Boltcaster has one thing going for it that the other swords do not have, and that one thing is range. The ranged attack of Boltcaster can make it effective in even the highest level PvE situations. The ranged move will basically go forever, and it does a very respectable amount of damage in an area of effect, making it great for clearing high level trash mobs. So the reason I picked Boltcaster to be number 1 on this list is because of its performance in mid to low-level PvE situations. Using Boltcaster in the Heroic playlist is like cheating. You can cruise through an entire strike in just a couple minutes with this weapon. It does tons of damage, it has an area of effect ability, and it has tons of ammo to boot. Boltcaster actually does really well against bosses too. Just like the high-level PvE situations, you can use the ranged attack to keep a good distance from the boss, while still doing respectable amounts of damage. And when the boss calls reinforcements, it's a perfect weapon to clear them before DPSing the boss again. But unfortunately, there's a certain move that most of the bosses do that makes the simple sword function kind of useless during bosses. But all things considered, Boltcaster is an extremely powerful weapon, and that's why it gets my pick for best PvE exotic in Destiny. Alright, so that's all I got for you guys. So what'd you guys think of my list? Would you swap any weapons out? Did your favorite weapon get snubbed out? You guys should leave a comment down below. I really hope you liked the video. It took a long time to put together, so I'd appreciate if you guys hit the like button and consider subscribing. I put new Destiny content out all the time. Thanks for sticking here with Widgeon TV. Thanks for watching, guys.